Hello and welcome. This is McGoobage. My name is Andy and this is a fairly new YouTube channel. For those of you that have seen my channel before, you would have seen that I did 2 playthrough series last season and got sacked twice in non-league. I'm useless with tactics. The thing is, I know there are plenty of people out there that also are. You're a bit like me, you struggle. So, I've been on the community forums, I've been around different websites, and I'm going to put together a tactical experiment. Now this experiment will be 4 of the most popular tactics tested with every single Premier League team, starting with the top 6 this week and then moving forward to the rest of the Premier League, just to see how effective they actually are. Now there are 2 types of people that play Football Manager in my view. It's those that have the time to create and develop their own tactics, and there are those that don't have the time, that would love to have the time to develop their own tactics but need to play the game for an hour or a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours a week. They just want to download a popular one and give it a whirl. Hopefully these videos will give you a bit of a guide as to what tactics work with each team to help get me started. Let's get straight into it. Tactic number 1 is by Knap, who's a popular poster on the forums, the SI community forums, and it's the 4-2-3-1 Beowulf. There's plenty of different versions on here. He tests I think on FM Touch and things like that. It's the Giraffin version that we're going to be using. That is tactic number 1. That's a 4-2-3-1 formation. I'll go into it when we get into the game, but that's tactic number 1. Tactic number 2 is by Fuss, Minimal Fuss, Fastidious I should say. Again, a regular poster. He's a regular poster on this particular forum, and I'm using the stable version 2. So all the links to the tactics will be in the description. Minimal Fuss, Fastidious, version 2, the 4-1-2-2-1 formation. Tactic number 3 is by Rossler, who is another brilliant technician, and he's a regular poster on the forums. His is the Steadfast, a flat 4-1-4-1 formation. Very, very popular, and again he has a lot of success with his tactics. This will be implemented as tactic number 3. Tactic number 4 will be Jamie's 4-2-3-1 Attacking Catenaccio with set pieces. This is a very popular tactic on his Twitch channel, and this is going to be tactic number 4. We're going to get straight into this. The second team we're going to be testing these 4 tactics with is Chelsea, my beloved Chelsea, and we all know what a mess they're in at the moment. So the tactic number 1 is Knap's Beowulf tactic. It's the Tiplicet Tiki-Taka tactic. It's the 4-2-3-1, which is the formation I believe we should be playing now. Sarri should be playing. And again, once again, we'll be picking the team based on the strongest players that are available to play those positions. This is how the tactic plays out. The tactic is a goalkeeper on defend with wing backs on attack, Alonso and Azpilicueta, ball playing defenders, which is Lewis and Rudiger, deep line playmaker in Kovacic, box to box Conte. They're both rated higher than Jorginho, which we all know. 2 inside forwards on support, Pedro and Willian, with Eden Hazard as the attacking midfielder, with Morata as the advanced forward on attack. There's a plane going over, excuse the noise. So the actual tactic itself, the link will be in the description. It's an attacking tactic. In possession, it's slightly shorter passing than you pass into space. You play out of defence, low crosses, run at defence, work ball into the box, overlap on both sides in slightly lower tempo. In transition, you take short kicks, you distribute to fullbacks, you counter and counter press. And out of possession, you look to defend narrower with a higher defensive line. A much higher line of engagement. It's extremely urgent tactic. Prevent the short goalkeeper distribution. You get stuck in using the tighter marking and use the offside trap. Now, as you know, if you've seen my first video, the Man United version, these are 4 tactics we're going to test. 4 of the most popular tactics that are currently on the forums. I'm going to load through the season. As you can see here, if you're not up to speed with what happens here, the staff are in control of everything. Team selection, tactical briefings, everything. I'm not involved at all. I'm just going to sit here, load the season through on holiday for a whole season until the beginning of June, and we'll see how it plays out. So here we are at the end of the season, 38 games in, and Chelsea finished 4th. Is that a prelude of what's going to happen this season? Can't see it. Yeah, Chelsea finished fourth, 23 wins from 38 games, 10 losses and 5 defeats. Liverpool won the league with City and Arsenal second and third. United fifth, Tottenham sixth and Everton seventh. Let's see how they did in competitions-wise. Let's have a look at the schedule. They lost the Community Shield and their first game of the season to Man City. Some big win against Everton, 5-0. They won the Europa League game against Spartak. They lost the opening game of the season, but there's a long unbeaten run here in the Premier League and all competitions right through till December, till they lost at home to Southampton. Got beat in the EFL Cup on penalties by Everton. There's a 7-0 home win against Everton. Willian got a hat-trick. Kovacic, Rudiger, Conte and Alonso. It's noticeable that Eden Hazard didn't play that game. I wonder, because everybody else is in control, including the transfers, I wonder if Hazard left the club. We'll have a look at that in just a second. But look at this. We beat Everton 7-0 in the Premier League on the Saturday the 12th of January. The weekend after, they were beaten 7-0 by Arsenal. Got through the FA Cup by beating Brentford. Lost in the Premier League. After beaten 7-0, they got beat by Man United. Lost to the rivals Tottenham. Europa League, they progressed quite nicely. 3-0 away at Rosenborg and then 7-1 at home to Rosenborg. Beat Oxford in the FA Cup 5th round. Europa League, second knockout leg. They got through that with no problem. Beat Tottenham in the FA Cup 6th round after extra time. Another 7-0 win against Crystal Palace away. They did have a play. They were down to 10 men from after 11 minutes. And David Luiz was sent off on 28. They still won 7. Hazard is playing, so he wasn't sold. FA Cup semi-final. They beat Arsenal 4-2, which was a good result. Europa League. They beat Valencia at home in the quarter-final and away 4-2. Then they suffered a number of defeats. That was their last victory. Then in all competitions, they only drew one game away at Watford. They lost to Leicester, lost to Southampton, lost to Arsenal badly in the Europa League, 5-2 away, and at home 2-0. Got to the FA Cup final and they lost to Man City. So there was no trophies for Chelsea. Some big wins, some big defeats. Let's have a look how the players performed. So, key ratings. Alonso, Luiz and Rudiger and Azpilicueta, 4 defenders in the top 4 spots were the key players with the average ratings. Goals. Morata, 25 from 56 games. Batshuayi, 22 from 35. Willian, 21 from 59. Luiz, 18... Pedro, 18 from 59. Luiz, 17. Alonso, 10. Eden Hazard, he only made 20 appearances. Why did that happen? Let's just have a look at his injuries. He broke his leg. Oh my word. He had a broken ankle, which we all know about. A pulled hand, damaged cruciate ligaments against Tottenham in September. 6 months out. He then come back and then he broke his leg at the end of the season. That's why Eden Hazard didn't perform as we all thought he would have done. But there you can see. So the tactic didn't really work out for this particular squad. That was tactic number 1. So here we are with tactic number 2. Now tactic number 2 is the minimal fuss studious, or I can't remember what it's called now. It's a 4-1-4-1 formation, and again it's being picked based on the strongest players in the team. Jorginho actually makes an appearance in this particular one for those Chelsea fans that are more interested. So the tactic is basically a sweeper keeper on defend. You got 2 wing backs on support, 2 central defenders on defend, a defensive midfielder on defend, and Conte's playing there because that's where he plays. Kovacic box to box on support, Mazzala, Jorginho on attack, Willian and Hazard inside forwards on support, and deep line forward attack Alvaro Morata. Now the tactic is a positive tactic. In possession, you're asked for shorter passing, play out of defence, work the ball into the box, lower tempo and frequently waste time. In transition, you roll it out, you distribute to the fullbacks, you counter and counter press. And out of possession is a high defensive line, you prevent the goalkeeper distribution short, and the use of an offside trap. Excuse the planes going over, but I need to be recording. So we're going to load this season through again, like we did the first time, and see what happens at the end of the season. So here we are at the end of the season, and this particular tactic performed better than the first one. Chelsea finished third. They finished third on 84 points. Liverpool won the league, Man City second, United fourth, Everton, Tottenham and Arsenal filled the Europa League spots. Let's see how the schedule played out in the cup competitions. Lost the Community Shield and the opening day of the season to Man City, which is the same as before. Lost the opening Europa League game. Won the EFL Cup third round against Sheffield United quite comfortably. Then a nice little unbeaten run. They beat AC Milan in the Europa League and Vitesse. Bristol City in the EFL Cup. Drew 1-1 with Liverpool. Beat Vitesse in the Europa League. Revenge defeat against Eintracht Frankfurt and beat them at home. Drew with Milan. Okay, so got knocked out in the EFL Cup quarter-final on penalties by Watford. Beat Manchester City at home, which is a good result in the Premier League. Beat Brighton in the FA Cup third round and Bolton in the fourth. Lost to Arsenal in the Premier League away. Beat Tottenham away, which is a good performance. Beat Astana in the first knockout round, first leg, away and then comfortably at home. Lost to Basel away in the first leg of the Europa League. That was followed by a defeat away at Liverpool. But they avenged defeat to Basel. They beat Basel on away goals. Beaten 2-1 away and went through. Comfortably beat Huddersfield in the FA Cup sixth round. But followed that up with a defeat away at Palace. Europa League quarter-final, we lost to Man United away, 3-0 in the first leg. We beat them 2-1 at home in the second leg, but obviously knocked out. In between all that, Leicester beat Leicester in the FA Cup semi-final. Away, lost 5-0 away against Southampton in the Premier League. Finished quite strong in the Premier League with a 4-0 win against Cardiff and beat Man United in the FA Cup. Performed. Average ratings. David Luiz, Alonso, Martial was transferred in. David Luiz, Alonso and Martial, they were the top rated players. 7.29 was the biggest rating. Goals wise, Willian on 23 goals from 55 appearances. Morata got 15 from 58. David Luiz weighed in with 12. Conte got 9. Eden Hazard. What happened to Eden Hazard? He's not in the squad. Let's have a look at their transfers. Eden Hazard joined Man United for 81 million. And Rudiger went to Barcelona for 44.5. And Pedro to United. Interesting. For some reason, Chelsea signed Phil Jones. We'll say no more. So just to sum up then, Chelsea finished third in the Premier League using tactic number 2, but won the FA Cup. As I say, that's tactic number 2. So here we are, tactic number 3, and this is the Steadfast 4-1-4-1 by Rossler. This, again, is an attacking tactic. In possession, you ask for shorter passing, you pass into space, play out of defence with low crosses, run at defence, work the ball into the box, focus play through the middle of the pitch, transition, short goal kicks, counter and counter press, and out of possession you defend narrower, a higher defensive line and a higher line of engagement. It's extremely urgent, you prevent short goalkeeper distribution and the use of an offside trap. You have a sweeper keeper on defend, your 2 fullbacks are complete wing backs on attack, 2 defenders, central defenders on defend. You have a half back on defend, 2 wide midfielders on attack, 2 box-to-box midfielders on support, and up front a false 9 on support. It's worth noting that in the first testing tactics video I did of Man United, Paul Pogba scored 36 goals from midfield. Let's see what happens with Chelsea. So we reached the end of the season in tactic number 3, and Chelsea finished second. They finished 4th, 3rd in the first 2 tactics. They're now second. 38 games, 27 wins, 4 draws and 7 defeats. They finished just 3 points behind Liverpool, who won the league. United 3rd, City 4th, Southampton 5th, Tottenham and Arsenal 6th and 7th. Let's have a look at the schedule. So they started off with a real good, well, as I say, all friendlies, but then they beat Man City, the Community Shield and the Premier League. They had a good unbeaten run in the Premier League of 5 games, 6 games, 7, 8, 9. 9 games unbeaten before they suffered defeat away at Bournemouth. In the EFL Cup, they lost in the opening round against Swansea on a penalty shootout. Started off the Europa League group by beating Feyenoord away 2-0. There's a big win in the Premier League against Huddersfield, 7-0 in the Premier League, or 7-1 in the Premier League. Before that, second game of the Europa League, they won comfortably at home 4-1. As I say, first defeat in the league was to Bournemouth. Kovacic was sent off and Bournemouth did score a 93rd minute winner. Liverpool at home, beaten 4-0. Young Boys Bern in the Europa League, beaten 6-3. There's some big results here. Feyenoord at home, Europa League, won 3-2. There's a whole period of all competitions here of games. There's 5 there. There's 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 18 games unbeaten in all competitions looking at this tactic, which is really impressive. Next Europa League game, they won 5-0 at home. Man City, they completed the double and beat them at home 1-0. Beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup 6-1 in the FA Cup third round. Arsenal away, beat them 4-1. Lost to Man United in the Premier League after beating Bristol City in the FA Cup fourth round. Oh dear. Lost to Tottenham 5-1 away. They were already 2-0 down, and we were already 2-0 down before Azpilicueta was sent off, and our goal was in the 91st minute. Progressed in the FA Cup by beating Aston Villa 2-1. Europa League, they beat CSKA 1-0 at home. Good result against Villarreal in the Europa League 3-0. Followed up with a defeat away at Liverpool 4-1, which is disappointing. They lost the Europa League second leg of the second round, knockout round, but they'd already been through. Palace lost in the Premier League, which is unfortunate. FA Cup semi-final, they beat Wolves on penalties. Beat RB Leipzig 3-1 in the first leg of the Europa League quarter-final at home. But then look what happened away. They lost 4-1 away. Getting knocked out at the quarter-final stage, which is disappointing. Between those games, they lost away at Brighton. These are the games that obviously cost them the league. Lost away at Wolves on the penultimate day of the season in the Premier League. Won at home against Cardiff, but those were the games. The Brighton and Wolves games have really hampered them. And the Crystal Palace, the 3 defeats in the last final few games of the Premier League season, lost on the title. But they did win the FA Cup. They beat Tottenham in the FA Cup, which is always a good result. Player-wise, average ratings with this tactic. Okay, Willian was a top performer on 7.47 with Azpilicueta, Kovacic and Alonso next. Goals-wise, Batshuayi, 22 goals from 33 appearances. That's on loan, though, I believe. So Morata, 21 goals in 55 games, followed by Willian, 18 and 47. He did have 14 assists, which is good. Kovacic in the same position as Pogba played in the first video. Only 14 goals from 52 games and 13 assists. And again, Eden Hazard is missing. What happened to Hazard? He went to Man United again for 84 million. Chelsea did sign Pulisic and Lingard and Angel Correa from Atletico. Unfortunately, Rudiger left again. Why did Rudiger keep getting sold in this game? I don't know why. But yeah, so that's basically tactic number 3. They finished second in the Champions League. They didn't make any progress in the Europa League. Root any sticks? I was going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about there. Europa League got knocked out in the quarterfinals, but they did win the FA Cup. That's tactic number 3. Here we go. This is tactic number 4. Now this tactic is the FM Scout Catenaccio. I don't know how you say it. It's a tactic that's a 4-2-3-1 formation. It's got an attacking mentality. Shorter passing, you pass into space, you play out of defence with low crosses, work the ball into the box, focus play down either side with a slightly lower tempo. In transition, you distribute to fullbacks, counter and counter press. And out of possession, you defend narrower with a much higher defensive line and line of engagement. Extremely urgent, you prevent the short of goalkeeper distribution. You get stuck in, but you're using tighter marking in this one, and you're used to the offside trap. You've got a goalkeeper on defend, 2 wing backs on attack, 2 ball playing defenders on defend, a deep line playmaker on support, and a box to box midfielder on support. You'll notice that Kovacic and Conte are my selection, not Jorginho. 2 inside forwards on support, Pedro and Willian, attacking midfielder Eden Hazard, and then up front an advanced forward on attack. But what we're going to do, we're going to play through this season again. All the staff are in control of everything, transfers, team selections. Well, I've asked them to try and stick to my selection as much as possible. But they're going to control everything else for the remainder of the season. We're going to load it through and see how tactic number 4 performed. So, tactic number 4, the FM Scout tactic. Chelsea finished 5th, disappointing. Man City won the league, followed Liverpool, Everton 3rd, Man United 4th, Chelsea 5th, Tottenham 6th and Arsenal 7th. Let's have a look at the schedule. So, they won the Community Shield, drew with Man City. Beat Newcastle in the first home game, but then lost to Everton away. Europa League started well with a 3-0 win after beating Man United at home. Won in the EFL Cup 3rd round against Ipswich. Oh, wrong button. Let's go back down. Beat Spartak away in the Europa League. Fenerbahce at home 5-0 in the Europa League. They beat West Ham away in the EFL Cup 4th round. Lost to Liverpool away in the Premier League. At home even. Lewis was sent off again. He's been sent off a number of times from what I can see. Fenerbahce, they won away in the Europa League. And then against Jablonec, they beat them and literally wrapped up the group. A good home win against Brighton 5-1 in the Premier League. Final group game, they won against Spartak 5-2. Knocked out in the EFL Cup quarter-final against Swansea on penalties. Then lost at home to Man City in the Premier League. A couple of good wins against Cardiff and Wolves. They beat Burnley in the FA Cup 3rd round 4-1. Lost away at Everton 2-1 in the Premier League. But followed up with a win against Arsenal away. Beat Middlesbrough 2-1 in the FA Cup. Lost away at Tottenham after drawing away at Man United in the Premier League. Won away in the Europa League first knockout round, first leg, 4-1, good result, but got hammered by Bournemouth, by Watford away, 5-0 in the FA Cup 5th round. Beat Karabakh 4-0 at home in the Europa League, through to the next stage. Lost away at Bournemouth, 1-0 in the Premier League. FC Basel in the second knockout round of the Europa League comfortably won, but were then battered away at Liverpool 4-0, which is never good. Drew the return leg at Basel 3-3, progressed through to the next round. Lost in the Premier League at home to Watford, then beat Man United in the first leg of the quarter-final Europa League. Drew away and went through to the semi-final. Lost away at Southampton in the Premier League. RB Leipzig beat them 4-1 at home in the semi-final first leg. With a win in the Premier League away at Wolves. Won again and went through to the Europa League final by beating RB Leipzig. Finished off the Premier League season with a win 6-0 at home against Cardiff. And they won the Europa League final after extra time 2-1. So, Premier League was disappointing, 5th. They won the Europa League, FA Cup and the EFL, not really much to talk about. Average ratings, Conte was the main man on 7.3, followed by Ruben Dias, who was obviously a new signing, and Alonso. Goals-wise, Morata, 24 goals from 60 games, followed by Willian with 20 and 53. Willian had 9 assists. Conte weighed in with 15 goals from 51, followed by Pedro, 10 from 48. So it's a bit of a disappointing tactic really with Chelsea. It doesn't really work with this particular squad. And that's been tactic number 4. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all the videos that will be coming out. I'll be testing the same 4 tactics with all the Premier League teams just to see how they go. Let me know what you think of the video and the concept, and let me know if you download the tactics yourself. The links are in the description. See how you get on. Thanks again for watching. See you all next time.